both from the public and from this dais. I can tell you that, I spent a lot of my time on this subject matter, talking to, the people that I represent, whether they're in my district or not in my district. We still represent everybody. And I will say that I probably received a rather interesting number of differing opinions about this particular opportunity that's standing before us. So the only thing that I'm going to say that's really redundant is that it's made clear to me in all my conversations that I'm not going to take away the opportunity for people to make a choice on this, because like it is, it's all over the board. And for me to make that decision in the absence of what they're saying is unfair. So I think this is a great opportunity to let them make that decision. Now, one of the things, though, is that was seeming to be sort of a theme tonight, Mr. Mayor, was conversation about the project, the dollar amount. Can it be tuned a little bit more? Can we get it a little bit better in alignment with what people can accept, so to say, in terms of a volume, dollar volume. And what's interesting is that, I had made a reference at the last meeting talking about this bond. We recognized that the bond was made up of a project list, and those projects were out of 5 different categories, right? We had public safety facilities, we had new community facilities, recreation facilities, future purchase and development, future space, roadway infrastructure improvements. So those are the 5 different project categories under which these project lists fall. And I didn't really get a handle on, what the interest is of my colleagues when I made the reference of can we break this one bond issue into 5 bond issues, and we put them in the categories because they're all different type of categories. One's public safety, one's road, and so, that would, for me, give me a better understanding about where is the majority of people, where are they placing their interest in the most. So I'd like to make a motion to get your interest on, can we make a amendment to the resolution? It's not a motion, an amendment to the resolution where we don't put out a single bond, we put out the 5 bonds in the different categories that equal the $250 million, so that way people can make their choices.
So before you make the motion, I've had a conversation with the city manager, with the city attorney about this. When this first came up, we actually did address it. I remember explaining that the appeal, just like it was in 2005, of having the plan together, one plan for one city, was that everyone who has a different constituency point had the ability to support it. They might not have supported all of it, but they supported enough of it to move it forward. Once you create a menu, you might end up excluding parks. That would be an issue that we would be unable to overcome. Or, heaven forbid, you might exclude traffic, and then you run into that problem. By having it all together, these bond programs have a tendency to create greater success and greater cohesiveness and greater understanding among the residents. But there was also a procedural issue. We are under a time frame now because we have had all of these discussions with the public where the direction that we gave the city attorney was to create one resolution. That resolution is now due to be submitted so that this ballot question which is the last item that we have to discuss for the March, what is it, 11th?
March 11th.
March 11th.
Yes, sir.
That has to be in. He hasn't even crafted the 6 or 8. He only crafted the one resolution. And that resolution then has to be translated into 3 different languages. It has to be double-checked and all of this other kind of stuff in order to make sure that it all works. It has to still be within the number count, which isn't always easy when you're using different languages. So it becomes very, very complicated to pursue that. Mr. City Attorney, I'm almost thinking that at this point, I don't even know how that's tenable. I mean, we would have had to do this minimally last time. So, but that's not the direction you were given. You were given direction by this commission on a 4-1 vote to draft one resolution, which you've done. So now I'm stuck in a procedural quandary as to whether or not how we proceed with that, if we could even proceed with that, if it would even work.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just quickly, for the record, Jolinda Herring, are you on the line?
Yes, I am on.
Good evening, Madam Bond Counsel, and also the folks from our financial advisory group, which is both John and Jerry Ford are on the line and have been listening to the exchanges this evening. I'll give you the quick procedural issue, and then I would defer to the other colleagues of mine that are part and parcel of this overall conversation, which is a serious one and one which is fraught with significant time constraints and potential pitfalls for not completing within those timeframes. We know that there's a March 11th election. The city has delivered to the supervisor thus far the certified copies of the 7 charter amendments, which are in the hands of the supervisor. Those documents are currently in the process of being translated. The ballot title and ballot questions and the notices have to be translated in 3 languages. That's in process. The bond resolution before you this evening is a single-focus bond resolution with multiple options, and it's in the notice as provided for in Exhibit A. And Jolinda can explain differently or better about that, as well as both Jerry and John Ford. The challenge there is that, presuming you took action this evening, that the commission voted to approve this resolution, this document has to be sent to the same translating group to get the ballot title and the ballot question and the notice translated into 3 different languages and must be physically in the hands of the supervisor by the first working day in January. There's a holiday coming up shortly for many of us, several different holidays coming up for many of us, and there's time where we're out of time. We don't get a second chance to make a first impression. If you don't get it right the first time, you're not going to get on the ballot. The City Commission at the last meeting approved the elections agreement with the supervisor elections with the various parameters and the true-ups and things like that, which were asked for by the Mayor and Commission. That was submitted. That was signed by the supervisor. That document permits the 7 ballot questions for charter amendments and also the addition, and they're aware of this, of the bond referendum. To the extent that there would be changes this evening to this particular resolution to segregate it into several or more than one resolution will require a restart to go through the timing, bearing in mind that the ballot title and the ballot question are provided for by state law in the state election code. You can't have a ballot title that goes more than 15 words or a ballot question that goes no more than 75 words. Just for discussion, the ballot question in the backup this evening is 75 words. And we had to weigh every single one of them because you can't be any more than 75 words. In the context of timing, we are limited in time. To the extent of the application of that timing to the discussion, if you would ask Jolinda, she can answer the question further as needed, or John or Jerry Ford about their role in this discussion. I'm not privileged to comment on the segregation of the questions or the separation. I'm more focused on the fact that timing has become critical, not because you created a timing problem, but because we're at a point where this is what the election background requires us to get into to get to the March election. Jolinda, is there anything that I need to add for the record that you might, if I may, with your permission, Mayor Quigley, to highlight some of the things I've described, or John or Jerry? I know that you've done multiple GO bond issues over the many years of your practice. I know Jolinda has as well. Again, not speaking adverse to any commissioner's view or thoughts about how to handle this particular issue, if you could expose the mayor and commission or mutual clients, the collegial body, to some direction, I'd appreciate that for the mayor and commission. Jolinda?
Yes. Hi, this is Jolinda Herring with Bryant Miller Olive Law Firm. Yes, I think the timing is really the biggest issue here. So can you segregate it into multiple? Yes, but because of the timing, it would be a little bit more difficult due to the fact that, we've got to go back, break it down, as Mr. Gorin stated, make sure that we're in the 75 word limit, just to make sure that everything is done according to Florida statutes. Because this is a very heavily statutory procedure that we're going through with this. So, I will just leave it at that.
Well, and I also want to put it into context. It's not that we're rushing.
No.
It's simply that we have a timetable. We took our time so that we could have 20 town hall meetings, which very few cities do, so that we could have the kind of richness in public discussion that we have had, and so that we could have 3 months after this to disseminate information about the projects to the public. That said, there is a deadline for the paperwork, and I don't know that at the end of the day that there's anything gained by that. The plan was created with the philosophy of one plan for one city. We didn't have different strategic plans. We had one strategic plan. And so we want to bring everyone together in a city where there are different constituencies and different sensibilities about what people want to do. But you need to have all of the pieces in order to make the orchestra. It can't just be the guitar and the flutist and the drums and so forth. It has to come together. Otherwise, you have missing components, and you're not going to have and many of these components, one synergizes off the other. So it really sort of just, in my mind, makes sense to proceed as we had originally planned, rather than throw, a wrench into the thing that could actually, generate less value, though maybe some would like it, but ultimately generate less value than it would generate harm. So that's my view.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, and I thank the attorneys for, their responses, and, of course, as we always talk about how we have such a great staff and great legal support, I'm certain they could do anything that we ask them to do and get it done on time and in a timely manner. So that I'm comfortable with. Just my comfort level right now is what I'm looking for is if any of my colleagues are even interested in pursuing this, because, I will not take away the public's right to vote on this. I'm not trying to throw anything off track here. I just want to know if any of my colleagues are interested in this. Are you? Anybody interested? All right. So if nobody,
I would have been several weeks ago, just not tonight.
okay. Listen, that's fine. Listen, because I'm not going to pursue something that nobody's. I mean, why am I going to motion something nobody's going to help me out with, right? So, Mr. Mayor, I am pretty comfortable then moving forward with let's bring this in for a landing.
Thank you. Commissioner Schwartz.